And she has to read again to TV.
Hi, my name is Amaya, and we are Young Scholars Academy. We read books every single Saturday, and we give people the knowledge to read, and we welcome people who likes to read.
Brilliant. I couldn't have done it any better myself. Good
That's
job.
Girl, let's
Good
get it.
job.
Let's see. Coming to the stage first, like Amaya said, this is the Young Scholars Academy. She said it well. So, Rob, we don't even have to repeat it because Amaya laid it down, right?
Yep, she freestyled without a beat. She went a cappella.
Yeah, you listened to KRS One this morning.
Are you a philosopher?
You guys got some good books for us? What are we reading today? What are we reading, y'all? What are we reading?
Hi, I'm Ayana, and today I'll be doing a continuation of the book I've been reading for a while. Black Panther, well, not for a while, but last week. Black Panther, Tales of Wakanda, a groundbreaking anthology from an African diaspora.
Diaspora.
Leave her alone.
Diaspora.
Listen, I'm sorry, Ayana. I was just trying. I was like, oh,
It's okay.
it's trying so hard not to say
I
nothing.
should learn how to.
Yeah. See that, D? Be quiet. There you go. You got the stage.
Okay, so I'm going to start from the first short story in the book, Kindred Spirits. Watching Wakandan people through series of cameras and satellites is not exactly spying if they're family. Well, sort of. Maybe if the whole idea is fried. The thing about being Dora Milaje.
Yep, Dora Milaje.
Yeah, Dora Milaje, the Royal Protectorate gathered from various tribes of the Wakandan king and, well, his personal bodyguards. Not that he needs either. Is that I have access to all sorts of technology and surveillance. Not that studying a fisherman ranks is high on anyone else's priority list. Just outside of the Crystal Forest, home of the Jabri court, an old man gathers his catch. Still strong and able, though, he's seen his share of days. He hops out of his boat into the white sands of onto the white sands of the beach and heads into his village. Passing farmers tending to their field, that's life in my home village. One I couldn't enjoy because of the politics of who I am. Queen of the Jabri cult. Since T'Challa keeps the peace between the tribes of Wakanda and the chosen Dora Milaje, I am a walking international incident waiting to happen. The spying thing probably doesn't help, but this village is where the family I never knew comes from. Until recently, as far as I knew, I was born Shantae Giovanni Brown. I gave myself the name Queen Divine Justice. Come to find out that my true Wakandan parents named me Siantha Asia Devon, meaning the peace of God. But ever since I was sent away, I've known anything except peace. Or, for that matter, divine justice. I pan the camera back and look toward the unspoiled Nazania Bay, and stare out of the water for a fish. That's when I see it. A fish bobs to the surface out of the water, then another and another. Soon 100 or so float into the bay, their lifeless eyes staring up at the sun. I'm not sure if this is the right thing. I hesitate, uncertain of the protocol in this situation. This is one of those moments where I try to talk to my mom and dad, and anywhere else I'd probably be labeled crazy, since they were killed when I was a baby and I don't even remember them. I only have a vague impression of who they were. But here in Wakanda, they're all about talking to their ancestors. Heck, I work for a guy who talks to spirit cats that date back to the dawn of time. So I'm in good company. My gut tells me this is a spy versus spy situation, so there is only one person to contact. You summoned me, milady? I recognize the voice before I turn around. Hunter, also known as the White Wolf. Shai Fatin, of the Hot Zed, literally the Dogs of War. Figuratively, the head of Wakanda's secret intelligence forces, and the Black Panther's half-brother. The king trusts him as much as Thor trusts Loki. I ain't down with that milady. Stuff. I fixed my eyes on him and strolled down minding my own business. That hard don't test me stare flashes to bear like breathing at this point. Just showing respect due to a queen, Hunter leans in against the doorframe without a worry about getting the slightest bit of dirt on his perfectly white, perfectly tailored business suit. But everything about him was a lie. The suit was actually his white wolf uniform that made to appear as a suit with the same advanced technology that allows him to sneak in here and pose dramatically. That's the thing about Hunter. He's like the uncle that's always up to something. I can get with that. I shut off my display. Though I hadn't actually summoned you yet. Yes, you had. Though you may have not realized it, perhaps now would be a good time to caution you that your use of defensive monitors to go and spy on a restrictive area, someone's going to notice. Okay, I kind of thought that my Dora Milaje status gave me clearance. Anyways, I wanted your opinion on something. And point to the fish clustered in the water. What do you make of this? A fish kill. His wide grin betrays amusement at his own smug response. That much I figured out on my own. What do you think this means? Hunter's eyes constantly size me up. I hate how everyone around here treats every opportunity like it's a teaching moment. Someone's dumping something they shouldn't. What do you plan to do about it? I don't know. It needs to be investigated. Maybe take it to the king. This is nothing to bother the king about. He already mopes about it in his malice. The never-present shadow of the king looms long, with few ever escaping it. No one wants to be in trouble with him. Then why would you check it out? Investigate and learn more? I don't know what those people are to me, but I'm protective of them. Very well. Hunter steps into the console and produces a series of holographic images. In the meantime, I'm to brief you on the gala tonight. I glanced about for my Dora Milaje instructor. This is a state function and a security matter. You will be escorting the king as he meets with the Chinese business delegates as part of a build and railway forum sortie. A barf party? I yell louder than intended. I can't hide the snicker in my voice. Queen! His voice trills into an admonishing disapproval. Don't get mad at me for calling it what it is. They spend no money, and no one had to use an extra $50 to chip for better brand name. I assure you, this is a matter of grave import to the Chinese. Their larger agenda involves building a railroad and on Zania that will eventually extend to Norbria and Najanda, replacing the line built by the British colonial rule. The better to transport wealth out of countries and more effectively. Cynical much? My eyebrows arc, but I have a resting skeptical face. Merely a student of history. Colonizers like addicts. I see resources to be consumed. Once they have, you seize the exit and they move on. Rotating back to the monasteries, I see the fish drift to shore, rot in the hot sun. They dump whatever they want, destroying our rivers, our quality of life. As long as we continue to be the object of their irresponsibility, injustice, and humanity, and our entire content in the way life is in jeopardy. Welcome to the new colonism. Plundering nations and checkbook. I talk with my full chest now. Hunter tilts his head back like he's surprised by my answer, and the Black Panther sits idly by while it happens. You can at least try to hide your resentment of the king. Or, no, you should at least try to hide your resentment of the king. It's not resentment. I simply hate the lies and hypocrisy of Wakanda. I have one motive, to defend and serve the kingdom of Wakanda, and its king I'd do the dirty job so that my brother and his father before him could keep their hands clean. And the blame was, you're a white dude trying to speak on your behalf. I am the son of its king. When he was a baby, the plane carrying him and his family crashed down outlying area of Wakanda. T'Challa's father, adopted him. Hunter's been sort of overcompensated in the loyalty thing ever since. His Hanzaris, reputed to be the most loyal of many secret services operating on the behalf of Wakanda. Almost fancifully so. He never let any little things torture, assassination, and brutality show his role any. That's where I'm going to stop right now.
Nice. That's a nice story, and it's very descriptive. So you can kind of like almost close your eyes and just picture the scenery and picture like the dialogue between folks. I don't think there's anybody that hasn't seen the Black Panther, so a lot of that stuff resonates. Does anybody have any questions for
None.
Yana?
Awesome read. I enjoyed it.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Dun, dun, dun. Run.
Who's next? Who's up? Who has a good book?
You know what? Because Daniel wrote that dun 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 run thing, and I think that's hilarious when you see those videos. Daniel, you can be up next.
I was hoping to not be next, but
I know you were. I could tell when Daryl said, "Who's next?" Your eyes, you kind of put the head down. You know that
Yeah.
avoiding posture.
yeah.
We do it as adults too, so you know.
All right. So the book I'm reading is the continuation of Minecraft the Crash that I'm reading. I like this book, but I'm going to continue where I left off. Okay. So I couldn't stop. I think that they were trying to make it stop. I could feel them moving me, jostling me. I can hear them trying to tell me something, but I couldn't make out anything out over the way of my own screaming. I can only make out the way I felt and the way everything hurt, and I thought, is this dying? I tried to tell them, make it stop, then everything did. I woke up in a small beige room with vertical blinds and equipment beeping around me. There were two upholstered chairs with wooden arms sitting on either side of the beige plastic table with attached wheels. A blue blanket covered my body. I couldn't see what condition I was in, other than my legs appeared to be much larger than usual. So I figured that they were both in casts. Awesome. I couldn't see my arms either. I tried to move them, and they couldn't. Either I was armless, or whatever anesthesia they had me on hadn't dissipated yet. I felt groggy, with a side order of dull pain all over. At least I could move my eyes to look around. I was alone. It was just me and the beeping monitors, and a pink plastic jug that was sweating on the wheel side of the table. But no cups. I stuck my tongue out of my mouth. My lips were dry. I couldn't have used some water, but my voice didn't seem to be working. So I couldn't ask even if I wasn't alone. I tried to move my fingers to see if there was a call button or something nearby to let someone know. Anyone know that I was awake, and they can start tending to me or telling me what happened or anything. But I still couldn't feel my fingers or whether or not I still had any. I wondered what I looked like. I wondered where everyone was. I wondered what happened to Lonnie. When I woke up again, I got an eyeful of hospital ceiling tile. The really generic kind that's a hybrid of gray and beige. My foggy mind thought grayish, laid out in a grid that makes you want to count it. especially if it's the only thing you can see. The lights were dim, and I couldn't tell if I was in the same room I was in before or if I had been moved. It was smaller than I remembered, and there was seemed to be less humming and beeping than the last time I was conscious. That was progress, I guess. I tried to move, was was unsuccessful again, and this time I couldn't see my body at all because I was lying flat. Maybe my legs had disappeared or my entire body. I wonder if I was a person technically. I or or my entire body. I wondered if a person could technically survive as just a head. I also considered that the drugs were making me loopy. It seemed it seemed a wide assessment of my mental faculties. The door opened and closed. I heard my mother whisper, "How much longer do you think? It's going to be a difficult recovery, Miss Marshall. Her injuries are extensive. We're going to have to make it one day at a time." I heard something like a muffled cry and then my father's voice. "Carrie would like to see her. I'll bring her by after school." Carrie didn't have school on Saturday. I wanted to speak. I wanted to ask what they were talking about, but then it occurred to me that it probably wasn't Friday anymore, or even the weekend. I tried to say, "Hey guys, but what about the rather ignorant?" I groaned. I had been reduced to vocabulary of Minecraft villager. My parents ran over to the side of the bed, excited that I seemed able to vocalize at all. "Hey," I tried again. Came out. "Bianca," my mother said softly. Tears rolled down her face, tracing light brown tracks in her makeup. "How are you feeling?" my father asked. I tried to nod. It hurt. Next, a woman in a white coat came up, and my parents moved away. She had large, dark brown eyes and a black braid that came down over one shoulder. When she leaned in closer, her hair moved away from her name tag. It read, Dr. Nay. "Hello, Bianca," she said. "Glad to see you awake." "How long have I been out?" I tried to ask, but there was more groaning and some drooling. "I'm sorry to say," my mother leaned in with a paper towel to catch the dribble, wearing her worried face. "It's almost been a week since your accident," Dr. Nay said, as if I were perfectly coherent. "You're finally stabilized enough to wait for us to wake you. What's the damage, doctor?" Dr. Nay tapped a few buttons on her tablet and a hologram projected from a camera attached to the tablet's edge. A miniature version of me displayed before my eyes. It was eerie, like looking at a blueprint version of yourself. "Very lucky, Bianca. If you had the same accident a few years ago, I'm not sure if we had the right technology for you to I'm not sure if we'd have the right technology to help you through it. I certainly didn't feel lucky, being in a full body cast and all, but I took her word for it." Dr. May tapped a few more buttons and the hologram of my body glowed red. In nearly 10 different spots there was absignal. 2 broken arms, a broken thigh bone, 3 broken bones in my right foot, 2 broken ribs, and a collapsed lung and a concussion. I look like a game of Operation gone horribly wrong. "Good thing you're a fighter," Dr. Nay said. I didn't recall being aware enough to fight or know who was around me or how I even managed to get this hideous little room that smelled of pine cleaner, medicine, and pee, which I hoped was not my own, but I knew it probably was. Dr. Nay leaned over me and adjusted the flow rate on a bag that fed into an IV. I suddenly felt on my right gold. I suddenly felt something on my right go colder, and I smiled again. I was able to feel my arm at last. The coldness spread and washed over me. Then more dullness descended like fog. Dr. Nay continued talking over me to my parents. That seemed to be a lot to tell. I tried to follow along, but I was struggling to hear. I was struggling to feel. I was just struggling. like swimming upstream against a strong tide. And then it was lights out again. Third time's the charm, I thought when I woke up again. This time, the light was brighter. My body was propped up, and I could see around the bedroom with the covered chairs, the plastic table with wheels, and the sweating pink jug again. Deja vu. Except for my father, who was sitting on one of the chairs, reading Infotech magazine. For an old guy, he's always on the cutting edge of the newest tech stuff. Well, I guess it's his job. Hey, I said. This time it actually came out as a recognizable word, which surprised me. So I made a little sound that was half hiccup and half groan. Yeah, it was weird as you imagine, trust me. My father practically jumped out of the chair. Hey, he said, how are you feeling? I shrugged, or at least I thought I did. I don't think any part of me actually moved. What happened? I asked, knowing what what happened, but unable to come up with a better question. You got banged up pretty badly, he said in a low voice, as if saying it any louder would make things worse. He reached over me to one beeping machine and touched the screen. It made me nervous, but nothing happened. You're gonna be here a while, he sighed. He had a couple of surgeries, and there were some casts. He put his warm hand on my forehead. So we had to get you a plastic surgeon too, so the scarring won't be so bad. I must have flinched or something, and his face blanched. It's not so bad, and you'll be fine. You're out of the woods, as they say. He chuckled, wrapped his magazine on the plastic bed rail, and took a step back. He clearly didn't want to say any more. Lonnie? I asked. What? He asked. His face looked tonally pained. Then he blinked a couple of times and looked ill. Bianca. The door opened and Dr. Nash strode in. Good morning, Bianca. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a car, I wanted to joke, but thought better of it. My father stepped aside so she could get closer. She took the stethoscope from her neck and listened to my chest. Breathing's good, finally. Wasn't I breathing? When wasn't I breathing good? I wondered. She looked over at my father and nodded. She's a champ, this one. Then she turned to a tablet that she had placed on the table, tapped the screen a couple of times, smirked me, blue and floating above the device. Reappeared as Dr. Nay walked me through all the surgeries that had happened while I had been out. All the tests are coming back better, she said. Now it's just a matter of recovery, which means you may be here at the hospital a while. My father looked at me with his sad eyes, and I felt my heart sink. How much was this going to cost us in bills? How much school was I going to miss? We'd administrated the strongest painkillers we can find under the circumstances. The doctor continued, looking at my father. But the nurses say she's still waking up from every few hours trying to move. She's not the most we can safely give her right now. Which is probably why she's awake and comfortable enough. But we have to make sure she stays still. I don't remember waking up. I didn't remember pain. But the look of horror my father had gave me and said that he'd probably seen this waking up live in person. I'm gonna stop here. I'm currently at page 20, so I'm gonna stop right here. I hope you enjoyed this. Once again, this book is called Minecraft the Crash. Thank you.
Daniel, I can tell you really like that book. Do you still play Minecraft?
A little, yeah.
Have they updated the game, or is it still kind of the basic?
They added bees.
Yeah, they added bees, new cave updates, and stuff like that. So,
Oh, okay.
I've played it a little. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the only one who's asked. I hope you all enjoy this story. Like, I enjoy it so much, I want everybody else to enjoy it. Thanks for sharing, man. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, so who's gonna be up next?
And then there were two.
Yep, and then there were two. Amaya, you know what? You're over there stretching and moving around so much. Let's get you refocused. You can be up. You're like exercising over there.
So I'm still reading Kelly and the Secret Journal mix-up. You should go on a mission to get your journal back, Eric said. You should go to Tiffany's to play, and when she isn't paying attention, you should take your journal back. But Tiffany will be mad if I take it, I say. Then she will be sure to tell the bad stuff. But you can say she is lying. Eric pointed out, you will have your journal back, so you can say that you never wrote anything bad. Maybe the kids in your class wouldn't believe her. Maybe I said, I was not too sure. Eric said. He sat thinking for a few minutes. I let Eric do his thinking. I used to say hello when he was thinking for a long time. But now I knew that when Eric says very slowly, he can come up with a very good idea. I kept working on my math homework while Eric was thinking. Most of the time, when Eric gets a good idea, he will say, ta da! Or something like that. But this time, he just let lots of air out of his lungs. I put my math book down. Do you have an idea? I asked him. I think so, Eric said. He didn't sound very happy at first. I didn't know why, but then when Eric explained the plan to me, I understood why he wasn't excited about it. Eric's idea was that he would go over to Tiffany's to play, and then he would take my journal when Tiffany wasn't looking. Then Tiffany would be mad at Eric and not me. But you hate playing with Tiffany, I said to Eric. But I'm going to be a spy when I grow up. Eric pointed out, sometimes a spy has to pretend to like doing stuff he hates because it is part of his special mission, like a lot of spy movies. The spy will have to dance with girls because he wants to get secrets from them. I could not believe that Eric was going to play with Tiffany just to help me fix my problem. He wasn't. He was the nicest kid ever. I felt sad that I had written bad
Hey,
stuff about him.
Amaya, I gotta interrupt you for a second. Is your signal okay? Because you sound a little choppy. It's like going in and out.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know why it's acting up.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead. Let's see if you fixed it.
Or I'll just go to my mom's Wi-Fi. To get secrets from them. I could not believe that Eric was going to play with Tiffany just to help me fix my problem. He was the nicest kid ever. I felt sad that I had written bad stuff about him in my journal. If I hadn't written the bad stuff in the first place, I wouldn't have to worry about Tiffany telling my secrets. I told Eric, thank you, about a million times. I knew he wouldn't not read my journal because he takes his missions very serious. And plus he only likes reading about spice boats and what people eat for dinner in other countries. I told Eric that when he was a spy, I would try to help him with his missions. Then we pretty much just talk about spy stuff until Eric had to go home. 8 o'clock p.m. Tonight was a lot better than last night. Mom told me that Brandon got a sticker on his shirt, and Mom and Brandon did not have a big disargument at dinner.
Oh,
I
disagreement?
decided that it was disagreement. Yeah. At dinner, I decided that it would be okay to ask Brandon about something I had been wondering. So I went in his room after dinner. He was sitting on his bed listening to music on his headphones and reading a book for middle school kids called something outer space. The first 2 words were too long for me to really read them, but I got the outer space part. His door was open, so I had knocked on it, but I don't think he heard me come in. So I just walked up to him and knocked on his leg. He jumped about a million feet into the air. Then he shouted, "What?" He took one of his headphones out of his ear. Then I decided maybe it was not much a good idea to ask Brandon my question. Never mind, I said. I started walking to the door again. Brandon told me to wait and said he was sorry. He shouted. He said I surprised him. Then he asked what I wanted. That's all I'm reading today.
Okay, and I was just about to interject too for a quick second because it was choppy again. So I don't know if it's the way your phone's situated or if you're moving and you're moving the phone, that might have an impact. So,
I have a computer.
huh?
It's my computer, cause
Oh, okay. Well, maybe next time you use because the other times you weren't choppy. So this is the first time you choppy. Now you're frozen. All right. Thank you for that, Amaya. Appreciate you. Aaliyah. Not, educate us, regale us with that fabulous story that you've been reading.
Okay, so like last Saturday, I'm reading With the Might of Angels.
Yeah.
And she had just finished she had this entire situation where she was supposed to go to Pretty Man, but they're stopping her from going into the building. So now she had to go back to her old school. Saturday, September 25th, 1954. Mama does laundry for a living. She cleans, dries, irons, folds, and mends for families in Ivoryton. She's home most days, except on Saturday mornings, when she delivers the clean linens and shirts to her customers. Folks call Mama Loretta the laundress, mostly because she can remove stains better than anybody else, and can press the wrinkles from a raisin if she has to. Mama's iron works harder than a farm mule. She's got her own special starch she's invented, using potato water and lavender. This afternoon, I helped Mama hang the wash. I asked, "Are we uppity?" Mama had clothespins pressed between her lips, holding them while she secured the sheet onto the clothesline. She released the clothespins one at a time, clipped each to a corner of the sheet, and stood back as the breeze billowed the sheet toward her. She said, What kind of cocky question is that?" she asked. I told her what the kids at Bethlehem were saying. It's not often Mama sucks her teeth, but today she did. "Donnie," she said, let me remind you of something, a simple truth that my own mother taught me, and that I had repeated to you and Goober 1,000 times. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. I've known that dirty sentence ever since first grade when Mama taught me the words to sing that wisecracking Freddie Melvin, who once said I had beaver tail feet. Sticks and stones works many times, but today it didn't answer my question. If I was going to Pretty Man Coburn, it will make me uppity. I need to know. I definitely want good books and the secret for going to doctor school, but I didn't want to be uppity. Sunday, September 26, 1954. Daddy explained that the judges working on federal courts have issued an order. Hadley has to give Negro students the option to attend the white school if we want to. Pretty Man Coburn's got no choice. They have to let me enroll or else they're going to be in trouble with the law. They're kicking and screaming about it, Mama said. But even crybabies can't stop what's right. So school integration is going forward. Tomorrow I report to Pretty Man. Tonight Daddy came out and sat on the edge of my bed. With curlers in my hair, I'd taken to sitting up at my headboard, hoping to fall asleep that way. It makes it easier than waking up with tooth marks on my forehead. Daddy held me gently by both my shoulders. He was looking at me squarely, so I knew to pay attention to what he was about to say. He explained that people from NAACP had advised that he and Mama not come to school with me, that there might cause trouble. What kind of trouble? I asked. Donnie, you may see a lot of people gathered outside of the school tomorrow. Not everyone is in favor of you attending Pretty Man Coburn, and there might be some who protest. The NAACP officials feel it may be harder to protect you if we were there. Protesters may feel less threatened by one Negro child versus all of us. If they see colored adults, they might get riled. This could cause them to want to retaliate. I listened carefully. The skin at the top of my ears went warm. Daddy had more to say. Donnie, you were born with the gift of gab, but sometimes that gift is not to be shared. This is one of those times. If someone offends, lock your lips, child. Do you understand? I nodded. Mama came into my room after talking in Goober. She explained that she would walk with Goober to Bethlehem, like always, and that Daddy would walk me to part of the way to Pretty Man. But we needed to say goodbye on the corner of Waverly Street and Vine Road. He would not come any closer to the school building. Daddy's work shift started earlier, and Mama would be picking up Goober from Bethlehem in the afternoons, so I would just walk home from school by myself. Just make sure you stay on the main streets, Daddy said, and keep alert. I nodded again. Twice this time to show I understood after Mama and Daddy kissed me goodnight. I looked up two of Daddy's words in my dictionary. Protest, an expression of disagreement or complaint. Retaliate, to return like for like, often in an evil manner. To avenge, to be out for blood. Defend, now my whole ears are warm, my neck too. Monday, September 27th, 1954. If I live to be 100, and I'm stuck to a porch rocker with bad legs, 3 teeth, and a mind as rusty as a rained-on pogo stick, I will never forget today. I hope I don't wear out my pencil in writing it all, but I can't just help tell everything that has happened. I was up and dressed in the morning. Moon still hung above our house. Daddy had come home from his shift at Sutter's and was ready to take me to school. When I came into our living room, Goober and Mama were up too, eager for this day to start. Mama had pressed my dress with a mighty will, the bow too. She packed my lunch in a molasses bucket and wrapped the whole thing in leftover fabric used to sew the panels into the sides of my dress. Even my lunch tin was ready to make a good impression. It's one thing to wear a new dress and stiff shoes. Walking in them is a whole nother thing. Daddy took my hand. We started out quietly, no talking, each embraced by the in-between. The sky was dressed in blue velvet. Stars decorated its cape. Our streetlights spread yellow pools onto the sidewalks. Everything was still. Even the dew was asleep. Daddy seemed to be thinking on something. He clenched his hand in mine. His jaw was tight. I was thinking, too, about Yolanda, about the New York lady with the black dress, about Goober, about most of the people in Pretty Man Coburn. A raccoon stopped me and Daddy from thinking too deeply. She peeked out from the fence post at the edge of Mrs. Thompson's tea rose garden. That raccoon moved, sure with a waddle, not the least bit bothered by us. She was so pretty and special. Her black eye mask decorated with 2 rings of white fur. Not just white brows like most raccoons. She's one of a kind, Daddy said. Just like you, Donnie. Raccoons are plenty in these parts of Virginia, but there was no plenty about this raccoon. I've seen none other like her. I named her right away, on the account of how she moved. Nice to meet you, Waddle. Daddy and I slowed our walk. Then Daddy stopped. It was full light then, morning. Night's cricket had quit singing. The bullfinches had joined up, and the whip poor wills, and there was a contest between them to see who could flute out the other. Daddy said, "This is where I say goodbye, Donnie." We were still 4 blocks from the school building. I wasn't scared to walk the rest by myself, just sorry to lose the warmth of Daddy's hand as he let go. "Head on now, Donnie," he said. "Show everybody how smart you are." I pulled my lunch tin close. There was pride in Daddy's eyes, but he looked uncertain. He waited for me to reach Elmer Street, 1 block closer to Pretty Man. Then he waved goodbye. It was then that I got to the corner that I saw parked police cars with their siren lights flashing. There were people everywhere, gathered in a snarl waiting. I saw boys and girls and grown-ups, and the sheriff. They stood behind barricades. When I read the sign that said, "Mothers Against Integration," I knew they were waiting for me. Not once did I want to turn my back. I had waited too long for this day. The clock on Pretty Man's front said it was 7:30. School started at 7:45. It was hard pressed on how to get into school, but determined to. I figured if I went around the back entrance where Pretty Man's field meets up with the gymnasium door, I can get inside that way. But my figuring wasn't fast enough. "There she is!" somebody shouted. That's when trouble started. The girl from Milverton's department store, the one with the peach-colored hair that came into Pretty Man's front steps with the school bell in her hand. She clanged the bell to signal the day's start. Something about the power of the bell called me forward. I was not going to be late on my first day. I moved slowly along the street, then onto Pretty Man's front wall, where the crowd pushed at the barricades. Even then, I wasn't too scared, because I was so eager to get inside. The sheriff nodded towards one of the policemen, and 4 of them came up on all sides. They were carrying long guns. I wasn't sure if they were there to protect me or to stop me. The police kept people behind the barricades, pressing them back when they shoved to get at me. But even with all their force, the police could not keep those people quiet. The panic monster shook me hard. The protesters' mouths were twisted and angry. Their faces looked like the tightly crumpled balls of paper, and their tongues were sharp. "There goes the monkey," someone hollered. "Kill that chiggaroo," somebody yelled. The panic monster was holding on to me so tightly. I tried to put my ears on the sound of the school bell, but it was hard not to hear the hatred in people's voices. Bobby Hatch and his brothers had shoved to the front of the barricades. That was the very worst part of it. The part that frightened me the most, and was that they shouted mean things about Goober in front of all the other people. "She's got a brother too, but he's more stupid than any monkey." In the crowd, I saw a small girl, a child much littler than me. Her face looked kind. She was holding out a flower and a note. Her mom encouraged her to give them both to me. I smiled. So did she. But as she set the notes in my hand, she spit on my new shoes. And the note wasn't a note at all. The little girl had drawn a picture. It was scribbly, but there was no mistaking of its meaning. It was a picture of me and my pogo stick falling into a patch of pricker bushes. Underneath, she'd written, "Scratch off the black." Quietly, I just kept repeating what Mama had taught me. Sticks and stones, sticks and stones. I know the end of the rhyme says names can never hurt you, but that's not true. Names do hurt. Hearing other kids yelling mean things was worse than a punch in the stomach, and it made me want to holler back, but I promised Mama and Daddy I wouldn't. More than anything, I wish I'd brought my baseball bat with me. Not to use it, but just to have it nearby. Just to grip it as tight as I could, to give my clenched fist something to hold on to. I was afraid my dress might rip, not from it not fitting me, but from holding so much riled up stuff at my insides. When I finally got to Pretty Man's front door, it looked so big. I knew that if I could just get inside, I'd be all right. The policeman pressed in closer on each side of me as we made our way up the steps and into the building. Pretty Man sure lives up to its name. The wide hallways and tiled walls gleamed under the morning sun that blesses us with her light. I started to see why the white part of town is called Ivoryton. The police took me to the second floor to the principal's office, where I sat and waited and waited. I had to use the bathroom, but I didn't dare ask. At least the panic monster had let up for now. I could see the placard on his office door. The principal's name was Mr. Lloyd. The phone rang all morning. Each time she answered the phone, the school secretary spoke graciously. Pretty Man Colborn, how may I help you? And each time she looked over the tops of her glasses at me. I stayed very still, watching the clock, wondering when I'd be meeting my teacher. Nobody spoke to me. My lunch tin rested on my lap. At 2 o'clock, the school bell started to ring from outside. Its clang was muted by the thick windows. When I looked out, the police cars and barricades were still there. This time, a grown-up was ringing the bell, not the girl from the morning. Mr. Lloyd wouldn't speak to me, or at me, or look at me even. He explained to the secretary and the policeman that most parents had taken their children home soon after I had come into the building, and that there weren't enough students at school for the teachers to teach. The bell was a signal to the teachers that the school day had ended. The principal pushed his chin in my direction. This child's done for the day, he told the policeman. My insides started to churn. Back came the panic monster. I didn't want to face those angry people with their signs and spitting. Thankfully, Mr. Lloyd told the policeman, take her out the back. We left the building at the place where I'd hoped to enter, through a set of steps alongside the gymnasium that led to Pretty Man's baseball field. Maybe it was seeing those bases and that green grass that put a hankering on my feet. Maybe it was the sky so big above me. Maybe it was the bullfinches, trees, free in the trees, and still singing. It didn't matter that home was 2 miles away. I took off my Vaselines, held them tight by their straps, hugged my lunch tin, and then ran until I saw our house, and Goober waiting for me there inside the front fence. Mama was there too, hanging laundry. She didn't see me coming until Goober called out, Donnie! Mama put both her arms around me and smoothed my rumpled hair. My muffin had lost its curl. My bow had flown off while I was whipping through the streets and avenues that led me home. Mama's hand smelled like her lavender laundry starch. Their gentleness was sure comfort. She kissed me twice on my forehead, then by my ear. She whispered, Donnie, Donnie, sweet potato pie. Something inside me tumbled open, and I cried. Evening. Pulled pork and fried pickles for supper. I tried to eat, but I couldn't eat any of it. My stomach was too tight and queasy. Goober sat with his chin rested on the table. He rocked gently in his chair. He's been very quiet all evening. He hasn't looked at me much. His eyes have gone off someplace else for now. He's locked himself off. All three separate. Goober mostly watched the pickle person he put on my plate. Finally, softly said, Eat, Donnie. Not hungry, Goober, I said. Thursday, September 28th, 1954. The panic monster had a hold of me all night. He sure works hard, even when I'm sleeping. Daddy had to wake me this morning. I'd slept past the in-between, past the clock even. Donnie, time for school, he said, rubbing slow circles on my back. Mama was there too. You don't have to shine, but you do have to rise. There was a light at my window. It startled me. Morning had snuck up on me. I dressed quickly. I could only stomach orange juice. Mama had set out one of my church skirts and a simple blouse and a cardigan. It was still more dressed up than if I were going to bathroom. At least Mama took pity on me and let me wear my plain white headband and a not bony bow. I hurried into my clothes, but the Vaselines? Mouse straps on my feet would have been more comfortable than those. Mama agreed on my loafers, which I wear for everything except baseball. Mama secured my knuckles around the handle of my molasses tin, which she dressed up in peach Melba fabric. This morning, my picture was in our town newspaper, the Hadley Register. The headline says, "She stands alone." Daddy bought 10 copies of the paper. He picked them up on his way home from the diary supply. As newsstands were opening, I've clipped the article here. First steps towards integration in Hadley began yesterday when one brave Negro girl entered Pretty Man Coburn with the courage and determination of the child. The child faced hundreds of angry protesters who assembled in an effort to keep Pretty Man Coburn segregated and to prevent the child from enrolling. Many parents have refused to let their children attend Pretty Man Coburn School. By mid-morning yesterday, several had come to the school to remove their children. In a statement, Spencer LeLloyd, the principal at Pretty Man Coburn, said, "Allowing Negroes to attend our school possesses a hazard of the safety and well-being of our institution." Local officials and members of the state legislature are in continued talks with Virginia Governor Thomas B. Stanley about next steps in the process. Until further notice, school integration remains the law. Any Negro wishing to attend Pretty Man Coburn School or any white student wishing to attend Hadley's other public school, the Mary McLeod Bethune School is free to do so under the laws set forth in the recent Brown v. Board of Education Supreme Court ruling banning of segregation. Even though the paper was never printed by my name, there were photographs of me going into Pretty Man. Looking at the newspaper's pictures, I don't recognize myself. My hair is all muffiny. My Vaselines are catching glints of light from every which way. And my face? What is that eyes looking straight expression? Just under my picture, the caption says, "A soldier for justice." And that's where I'm going to stop.
So, Aaliyah, as you're reading this book, like, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking about how brave Donnie is for being able to just walk in to this school, and about how she's excited to go there, and about how she's excited to be able to have school supplies that actually work, and how she wants to become a doctor because she knows that what's at Mary McLeod Bethune School, it doesn't have what she needs to help her to become a doctor, but at Pretty Man, she thinks there's a secret to be able to help her get there.
One of the things, does anybody else have anything they want to add? Like, what do they think as Aaliyah's reading this story?
I'm just kind of curious if any of you had to go through what our main character is going through right now in terms of integrating in school. How do you think you'd react or respond to everything that she went through today?
Honestly, I feel like I'd be scared and I just wouldn't want to go, because after the first day where she had the part that got me scared was the part where the little girl handed her the note and the flower. I thought that was cute when I first read this book, and then when she spit on her shoes and she opened up the note, that made my heart kind of break, because Donnie was actually hoping for someone to actually be there.
Right.
And someone that would be nice to her, that was in the in between the protesters, but nobody was there. So I feel like after that day, I just wouldn't go.
Got you. Ayana, Amaya, Daniel, what do you guys think? You think you'd be able to walk into that school by yourself and everybody hating you and fighting against you? Anybody?
Yeah.
Nope. I'd rather stay home.
For me, I
Oh,
think.
sorry. Hold on, Ayana. What did you say, Daniel?
I said nope. I'd rather stay home.
Okay. Ayana, what would you do?
What I say is that for me, it depends, because the crowd that Donnie had was really big, and I think I would be able to do it, but I don't think I would be able to just go there every single day and deal with that every single morning. I think she's brave for doing it though, and I'm proud of her, because if Donnie would not have done that, all the kids in the future would not be able to do that, and all the kids at her old school would not be able to come to her new school and get the better education. So,
Okay. Amaya, how about yourself? You think you'd be able to walk into an integrated school being the only black? What'd you say? Amaya, would you be able to do it? Walk into the school like Donnie and just take it on the chin and go to school every day, knowing that everybody there hates you and doesn't want you there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be able. I'll be having my backpack on, my hand like this, just walking by. Like I don't care what you say about me. I'm just trying to learn my education and just go to school every day. If you say something about me, well, that's your opinion, and I'm not about to say nothing to you unless you want to come fight me. I can't.
Well said. Okay. Aaliyah, as you're reading that book, do you ever think, wow, what if they hadn't, what if like the young people was in Little Rock, Arkansas, a couple of places around the country. What if they didn't do it? How do you think it would change your life right now if they never integrated schools? How do you feel that would impact you?
I feel like if they never would have integrated schools, so many people of color would have never been able to got in proper education to be able to go to high school and college because of the fact that schools have not been integrated and white people tend to get better things than people of color, so they would get better education than people of color. So I feel like people of color wouldn't have been able to get proper education to be able to be the president or to own a company. And I feel like that's how it would change today.
And I'm gonna ask one last question. What do you think Black people were doing for education prior to integration? With everything that we accomplished before integration, how do you think we did it? Do you think our schools were inferior? Do you think we were learning regardless? What do you think?
I feel like we were learning, obviously, but we just weren't learning. It wasn't able to help us because, okay, let's use these schools that they gave us in the book, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie said that Bethy in her old school didn't have what she needed to be able to become a doctor. However, Pretty Man does have the resources and tools for her to be able to become a doctor. Like she said that she knows Pretty Man has the tools and resources and education for her to be able to at least become one step closer to becoming a doctor. But she knows that her old school doesn't have those opportunities nor resources to help her become a step closer.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm really digging the book because as you're reading, I'm thinking about everything that we've done. Late 60s, I'm old. I was part of a small group of Black students that integrated some of the schools in Waterbury. We were bused from a predominantly Black neighborhood into an all-white school, so we had to go through that. My siblings went to a predominantly all-Black school, and I tell you, just as brilliant or equally as just as brilliant or equal to, or more brilliant than some of the students that we went to school with in the white schools. So at some point, I'm hoping what I'm gonna do. We have people who are gonna be donating books. So you guys can read about George Washington Carver, Carter G. Woodson, Elijah McCoy, folks who did brilliant things prior to us being integrated. I love the book and not challenging it, just offering a different perspective. We got some books that we're going to read. When you talk about the invention of the refrigerator, Lewis Latimer with the filament that actually lights the light bulb. Most of these people didn't go to predominantly white schools. They didn't go to integrated schools. So we're going to talk about that. But as I think about Donnie and everything that she went through, I'm just saying, wow, amazing. I don't know if I could have walked at that age. I don't know if I could have walked into a school being literally the only Black person in an environment where absolutely nobody wanted us. Where we grew up at, it was a little bit different than what Donnie's experienced. So, wow, that was brilliant. Thank you, Aaliyah.
I also think that I wouldn't have been able to follow my parents' directions not to say anything back, because sometimes when I get insulted, I tend to say things back. Right. So I feel like I would not have been able to follow those rules that my parents had set for me.
Understandable. I agree. I would have different. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, one of the things that as Aaliyah was reading that kind of struck me is just the emotions of what she was feeling. You know, the excitement, the fear, the anxiety, You know, just not feeling protected, knowing that everybody around you was against you, not having the support of your parents, being able to have your parents to be with you, to kind of back you up. That's rough. And I kind of went into an integrated situation, and I just fought. If anyone said anything to me, I was just fighting. So eventually they left me alone, but you know, everybody handles things differently. But I think that integration was one of the worst things, integrating our schools, being able to go to a school and seeing people that look like you, being taught by people that could, you know, look like your mother or father or your uncle or your aunt or your grandmother or your grandfather, having that comfort level to be yourself and express yourself in your culture and have it be understood and not misrepresented. I think that would have been ideal. And then you think about all the black teachers that lost their jobs you know, during that time. Tens and tens and thousands of black teachers lost their job, and they weren't getting hired in the white schools. But you know, I do agree with Aaliyah. You know, the white schools have more resources than a lot of the black schools. But I think that the way we persevere, the way we learn, the way we've been persevering, I think the black schools are just as good or even better. You know, just without the resources.
Okay.
This is my 2 cents.
Well, great job, everybody. Great job. You guys gave us so much to think about. And I hope that for the folks who watch this today or watch it throughout the week, I hope they have the same type of conversations or put the same thought that each of you put into your readings. Thoroughly impressed as usual. Not surprised, but always impressed. Love you guys. You are so brilliant. And I don't care what no one else says. You guys need to wake up every morning and tell the world just how brilliant you are. So with that, kudos. I enjoyed this today. Everybody's reading is phenomenal. Thank you.
Yeah. And shout out to Daniel with all his faces.
I was sitting here thinking the same thing.
I'm like, what is this boy doing?
Daniel. All right, you guys say goodbye to everybody. All right. Thanks, people. See you next Saturday.
All right. Enjoy your Saturday.